Welcome back if you're returning. This week we're antiquing, we're thrifting. I've found one of the very best antique stores that I've ever seen. I make a Victorian Cherub Lamp and I show you my Valentines curio cabinet with a bit of a difference. Let's get started. We've been this area before. Last year I took you to the Antique Mall in Hamilton, Ontario, which was fantastic, by the way. This little place is in the same area. It's on the corner. I don't know how I've missed it in the past. It is so cool and extremely Victorian. A lot of the stuff in here is from that era. A lot of artwork, a lot of stuff that I'm very familiar with, especially from the UK. This is stuff that you would see every day there in a lot of the antique stores. But a lot of it's a little bit off, as you can see, a little bit macabre, but very cool nonetheless. A lot of the things that I collect, there's a few things in here that I would love. I know it makes me odd, some of the things that I want, but they're just so cool, and seeing them all together in one space is really rather nice. As I said, there's a lot of taxidermy, which is rather cool. I must admit, I really like some items of taxidermy. Other things really freak me out. Highly collectible items in here. Some things you look at and you think, why? And other things you look at and you think, I must have that. The prices are a little higher, but this is quite a specific shop. It's out of the ordinary. This is, 99% of this stuff in here is priced as antiques. And like I said, there's some really cool stuff in here. So as you can imagine, there were all the usual items, the clocks, the dishes, the plates, the lace, the dresses. There was a lot of taxidermy, and there was a lot of things that are out of the ordinary collectibles. These, for example, I have a hard time with them because I understand you need to hunt for food, but this was for sport and display. And I know a lot was learned during this time because of this, but I do not condone this whatsoever. But I do believe that you learn from your mistakes. And of course, obviously, this still does go on in the world. It shouldn't, but I'd like to think that we learn from our mistakes. So this part of the store was, again, interesting to see and learning from the past, but it was not my cup of tea. Having said that, though, the Victorians did have a fascination with travel and death. That's what I've always thought. I remember a cash register like this in the Woolworths where I grew up, probably up until, probably the last 30 years. A lot of the furniture is big and heavy and gothic. This screen was just amazing. It was all decoupaged. Again, and anatomy, and they were all learning. This was all new during the Victorian time. So a lot of it is early inventions and things that have, progressed to things that we would use today. Again, like I said, lots of hats and interesting clothing. The thing about this place is it's like visiting a museum where you can buy the items on display. This coffin, why? For a party, for a Halloween party, if you've got the ready cash to buy them. I know a lot of the stuff in here has been used in various productions. The most recent one being Netflix's The Umbrella Academy. This was filmed actually very locally, and a lot of the stuff from here was used in it, and other productions that have been filmed in and around Toronto and Ontario because obviously it's cheaper than filming in the US. So I know a lot of things have been used, and you will see locations, especially around this part of town, and certain items were labelled, this was recently used in this or that or the other. So again, it's not only interesting can you buy it, but it's interesting you can learn the history of it and what it's still being used for. And like I said, the prices were a little on the steep side. When you look at the ingenuity and the work that went into these items, this is a very old dentist chair, but if you think about it and look at the mechanics of it, it's not dissimilar to what is being used today. Yes, it's electric and it's all state of the art, but they came from somewhere, and this is where they came, and these are the earliest examples of these wonderful items that made everybody's life so much easier. This wheelchair was extremely cool, and it was like a pedal. It's almost like those bicycles that you see now where you pedal with your hands. The optometry tools, these are almost, you know, the same as what you use today. They were so imaginative and creative and inventive. Like I said, a lot of these items are the basis, well, they are the basis, but a lot of them are close to what we use today. This rack of clothing, mostly cloaks. There were a few dresses, but they were so luxurious with the velvet and the embroidery. They were just spectacular. Better look at this screen. It was 250 years old. There was a little bit of damage to it, but it was entirely decoupaged, and it was very delicate, but very charming. I thought it was very charming. A lot of, as I said, there was a lot of coffins. This one reminded me of something that you might see today, very much going back to nature. So it just shows everything old is new again. This cabinet, actually this might have been another coffin that was turned on its side, and the religious artifacts used as decor, which I know my mom would be horrified by, especially as most of us were brought up in a quite religious backgrounds. It is unusual to see these items that we all grew up with being used as decor. This doorway was fantastic, and this glass was the original glass, so it was all mottled and with all the little imperfections in it. And that was about 15 foot tall, so that was quite an astounding piece of architecture there. There was also a lot of these pictures up on the wall. These are funeral art, and what it was, people didn't have money to buy flowers, especially fresh flowers. They would have been terribly expensive, so they would make floral tributes out of paper, material, hair even, and then they would get them framed afterwards because they were art. They realized that they were artwork, but they were as a tribute to who had ever passed away. This phone was very Art Deco, Art Nouveau, and I love the colour of it. There was these death masks which just kind of freaked me out. This actually looked like somebody we knew. Again, more of this art. There were shells that was made out of shells, and so you can see it's survived because they've been framed, but they're beautifully made. wasn't the largest store in the world, but it was really well set out, and there were so many things. If you ever get a chance to come and have a look and you're in Hamilton, certainly have a quick look, because it is well worth a visit. There was one thing that absolutely broke my heart. This little bear. I don't like to think how he got there, why he's wearing a little jacket, but I just wanted to take him home with me. So we took a walk further up and down the street. It was Ottawa Street, I believe is the name of it, in and out of the various antique stores, and obviously a lot of stuff that I've picked up over the years. Maybe not so much anymore, it's certainly getting fewer and far between, but there are items that I've picked up at a mere fraction of the cost of some of these. There was a beautiful picture frame that I saw in probably in every antique store that I went into, one of the old oval ones that I picked up for $10, and I think the cheapest that we saw was $80. And then little pieces here and there. This was a very nice shop. I picked up some little hinges and an old toilet roll holder, which was really something that I'd been looking for the bathroom upstairs. I'll show it to you after in my haul, but the stuff in here was a real delight to behold. Just as a matter of interest, the reason we came shopping for antiques is because it was my son's birthday. My boys are a week apart, 6 years and 1 week apart, and I asked them what would they like to do. We had spent the day together, and this is where they wanted to go. So the apples didn't fall far from that tree. So there were a few things that I picked up, and I'd had them sitting in the trunk of my car. These two little wall sconces were 50 cents each. I actually saw something like this very similar in the antique mall, and they were, I want to say, $15 each, so those were a good deal. I picked those up. I've already put those up on the wall, and they look really nice with the little with the pictures that I have hanging on them. These two little glass, they're bud vases, but I'm using them as candle holders. They are again 50 cents each, so it was a 50 cents day the day I went. There was a couple of little things. I just like the tissue paper. I use tissue paper a lot. These little spring candles were really cute, 50 cents. Those are actually going in those little glass candle sticks. There we go, that's what I'm going to do with those. Remember I used to see these a lot. You could pick these up from the dollar store, so this was no great find, but it was 50 cents, and I think the cheapest I've seen those at the dollar store is $4. My little Easter bunny, I've got lots of eggs, and I thought that would be perfect. And this little paper mache heart box, that looked antique-y, and it was cool, so I picked that up as well. So as I'd said, we were thrifting and antiquing for my boy's birthday. I picked up these few items in the one store. This is the toilet roll holder, which is lovely. The problem is it's a little narrow, so I'm going to have to see if I can buy a narrower toilet paper, but if not, I shall just use it as a display item. But I really like that, so I'm glad I found that. And then I got that and a little bag of glass chandelier pieces, and these 3 handles for $25. Oh, and there was also one other handle which I cannot find. It must be in the bottom of my bag, but this was from one little shop. I got a job lot for $25. I also picked up some prints for my son. I didn't get a picture of those, and I picked up a little Browning camera, box camera, for $10. So with Valentine's Day in mind, I thought I'd show you my cherubim lamp, this is what's inspired it. I've wanted them for a while, but it's always been out of my budget. So with my thrifted cherub and my lamp, here's what I did. So this is my Cupid, I'd like to call him. He's gorgeous, I love him. I picked him up from a recent thrift haul. I want him to be my centerpiece for I can use him at Christmas, I can use him even at Halloween, you know, like I'm sure I can figure out a way, and mainly for Valentines. But I could use him year round. I've got all sorts of ideas for him. It's very Victorian, and you can see here it's been repaired once. But I want him to, because I think if he's laying down like that, he just looks like baby Jesus. And nobody needs baby Jesus year round. So what I want to do is adapt this. This is that gorgeous lamp that I got. And I took all the chandelier glass hangers from it. And this is, I'm trying to figure out a way for me to use this as a stand for this. So, I don't know what to do. I've bent these down. The light doesn't work in it, that's the first thing. This light's, it's too hot. And it's not a really nice lamp. I like the idea of it, but it's not a good lamp. So I'm going to take the electrics out of it. And I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm maybe taking the light out, bending all these down, sticking his foot in there and have something to support him. One of these, a couple of these to support. So I think that's what I'm going to try. I'll take these little glass pieces off. I left those on because those were the broken ones. The rest went onto my chandelier in the bathroom. So let me have a fiddle with it. I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've bent them all down, loosened up the cord here, and I think I'm just going to be able to snap those wires out. I'll cut them out. And then maybe stick him in there, but that was quite easy because this is quite a substantial base. It's quite heavy, so hopefully it'll hold its weight. Once that out, well. Okay, so I had enough. I found a bag of these, and when I say I have lots of these, I've got a box full of them somewhere. But just every time I need to find them, I just find some, and just enough. So with a combination of the little ones that were broken, I've managed to get exactly enough to fit all the way around. So I've put the fuller, prettier ones at the front, and then alternately at the back, the little broken ones. I might sand them down at the end just to give them a proper little finish. Cherub sitting right in the middle there, and then I think I'm going to make a little wreath with those and just weave some fairy lights through them. So let's see how that turns out. Well, I have to say I'm really pleased with how this little lamp turned out. He is up on the curio cabinet, and I've put a little display of more Victorian inspired. He is just stood in there. His foot's in the lamp hole, and he is held with the two taller wires at the back. I just bent them over at the back and they're just sort of holding him in there. I made the little wreath out of the lavender and then just wound the lights around his hand. At some point I would like to have him holding two little lights, but I'm gonna have to see how I can do that, and I will let you know. But all in all, I think it looks very Victorian, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and it certainly has set the tone for my little Valentine's display. So as I said, he takes pride of place on top of the curio cabinet, which I have decked out in Victorian style Valentines with a lot of my little collectibles, some things that are geared towards Valentine and some things that are just in the cabinet year round, and I do change some things out and I do leave some things in there, as I said, year round. This is the first shelf of the curio cabinet. These are my little dog collections, and then that little postcard is a vintage one that I picked up many years ago. These are from the UK and they are mostly Victorian and Edwardian. The little heart box is something I picked up recently, and so is the heart-shaped plate. I just replaced the picture that was in there with this little one I printed off. Again, it was a free print. The jewellery is Art Deco. It was broken. I added this little clip at the end, so just so that it could be used, but it's an old piece. And those little champagne bottles are so cute. So continuing with the ladies theme, these are the ladies evening gloves with little pearl buttons, my little salt and pepper shakers of the lovebirds, the opera glasses, the lace handkerchief, and this is an evening purse, a Victorian evening purse. It is in a very bad way, but it's very beautiful. There's my old inkwell, the vintage reproduction Valentine's card, and the little heart stopper in the top of the perfume bottle. The next shelf is my gentleman's shelf, as I call it. It's got the old hip flasks, the a little old there's a couple of pocket watches, and there is also an old compass there. These are Victorian men's driving gloves. They are really lovely, soft leather. Another reproduction Valentine's card, and that is the box Browning camera that I picked up with my son's prints, and of course I got home, put them straight away, gave my son his prints and forgot to film them in the haul. But that was $10, which was the most amazing price when you think of the price of some of them. I didn't see anything less than probably $50. I just put them in with my other two vintage cameras and made the display straight away. I didn't actually get any pictures of the artwork that I got for my son, but this is my Victorian Valentine inspired curio cabinet.